Hey guys, it's Mike with DotBall360. Today we're going to talk about some beginner tips to help you progress your game along and find success early on as you learn to play dot ball. The first beginner tip we're going to talk about is use your bounce. The bounce is going to allow you to have a lot more time for not only yourself but also your partners to get to where they need to be around the table. So by letting it bounce on the ground, you're going to add a lot of extra time to move around the table, get in position, and that extra time goes a long way in figuring out where you should be and giving you time to get there. So if we look at this rally here, that first bump off the table is always just get a paddle on it, get air under it. From there, once the ball bounces, you see Kayla use that bounce. Here, Buddy's going to volley it, but we're going to use that bounce, slow it down. That allowed his partner to get back to the table for a nice clean hit. Again, using that bounce, so Ryan's right at the table. The only time I'd recommend not using the bounce is when you are the hitter and the set is coming in at the table. A lot of times, utilizing that bounce actually will tend to hinder you, especially if it's coming across the table. The one time I would say that you would let it bounce is if it's going to get closer to the table and make the hit easier. So if we look in this play here, Ryan's going to serve it across. We got a nice bump. We're going to go for on two, try to catch him out of position there. But he used his bounce to let Ryan get back to the table for a nice easy hit. This put away shot, this is where we're going to go. So we got a bad touch there, a set. Now that set, we bounce, and then we had a nice easy shot at the table. And pause it right here. If we would have taken this shot over the shoulder where the ball is here at the table, that's a really difficult shot to make happen. Instead, we let that ball bounce and then come right over the table where we have a nice, easy shot that with a very high percentage put away instead of some kind of acrobatic over-the-shoulder shot. And that was a great way for him to utilize that bounce to his advantage, even being the striker. Outside of that, going back to this rally, you'll notice every hitter in this rally hits the ball before it bounces, I think, except for one. So here you go with your set, and we volley that shot right out of the air. Here comes the set in, and we volley that shot right out of the air. Here comes the set in, and I think this is the one, oh no, he volleys that. And then, I think maybe that's the one that we put on softly. So that's going to be beginner tip number one, is use your bounce. Beginner tip number two is set the table. So as the setter, you get to control the hitter's angles that they get to use. If you set them across the table, you choose the direction they're hitting. If you set them directly over the table, they're going to have a lot of options for angles, but probably not be able to get a lot of power on it. So setting them towards an edge of the table, they can really swing at it, and they're going to have a pretty wide amount of angles to play with to really get some putaways. But as the setter, you don't want to set your partner 5 feet off the table because that's going to be a very difficult shot for your hitter. Instead, you want to set the table where they should be coming to. So in this rally, we're going to watch on the set itself. We're going to serve off the table, get a nice up here. Here comes the set. We're going to set towards the table, so we have a nice high percentage shot at the table. Again, we got a kind of a bad touch. There's a great set to the table, off the table. Here's your touch. We're going to set to the table. That was a pretty bad set. That was off the table. Because that set was off the table, he had to kind of dink it on there with very low power. So the orange team almost put that back on and won, and probably would have caught him completely out of position. Fortunately for the black team, he hit the edge, and the orange team did lose that point. But again, you want to set the table, not your partner. Coming back to a rally where I really failed to set the table and I set Ryan up for a really tough shot, I didn't get the bounce off the turf I was expecting, and so I didn't have as much time as I thought I was going to have. But as we start this rally, you can see Ryan got a good up. I'm going to set him towards the table. He has a nice high percentage shot. Buddy got a nice touch. Kayla sets the table, hits it over here. Ryan chases that down. This is where I should be setting the table. I'm using the bounce to give Ryan as much time as possible, and my set didn't even get close to the table, so Ryan could barely just dink it on, and then Kayla had a nice easy put away. So the second rule, again, is set the table, not your partner. You want to set the table for them to go to the table to eat. Our expression we always use is set the table, eat at the table. And that actually goes right into our third beginner tip. As the hitter, you want to go to the table to give your setter a target to set to. So in this here, Buddy's going to serve off the table. Ryan's going to get a nice up. I'm going to set him right at the table. He comes right to the table for a nice, easy shot. Buddy's moving to the table right now. He's the hitter. At this point here, I'm the setter. Ryan gives me a pretty bad up. And so I gave him a horrible set because I could barely get there, and he wasn't able to put it on in time. But here you go. We got a good up here from Kayla across the table. We're going to let that one bounce, give us an advantage. The black team is there to put it away. In this rally here, I get all turned around and I don't even know where Ryan is, but I still just set the table and it works out great. So Ryan gets an up here. I'm going to set the table. Ryan smacks it. Buddy gets his up, goes right to the table. So Kayla has a target. He smacks it off the table. This is where I get turned around. Ryan puts it over here. I don't know where Ryan is, but I know where the table is. So I set it back to the table and Ryan came to the table so that it was nice and easy. Then I got caught out of position. Buddy made me look like a fool. But as the hitter, if you're coming to the table for that set, it's going to make everything on the setter easier. So if you can remember that you want to set the table so you can eat at the table, that's going to be rule 2 and 3. So that third one is as the hitter, come to the table to have dinner. But those are a couple different tips just to kind of get you started in your dot ball journey. As you start to perfect those tips, we're going to put out some pro tips to kind of help you out later on in your journey. Ryan there with a little wicked twisted drop shot there. He gets me with that every time. But we appreciate you guys out there having fun playing dot ball. If you have any questions or anything, reach out to us. We love to hear what's going on, see how we can help or make things better for you and improve your experience with dot ball. We absolutely love the game. We love our community, and we appreciate you guys. So thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.